Hey guys, Steven here, aka the Boiler Master. I'm drinking some coffee and doing more DD. Now, you guys know I ignore the hype and dig into the financials because I'm a numbers and charts guy, not a storyteller. So this time I'm looking at Innoviz Technologies. That's ticker INVZ. Someone asked me to check it out, and I'm going to be honest with you guys on this one. It gave me a headache. It's a company based out of Israel, so their filings are a bit different, but it is a NASDAQ listed company, so I was able to find information I was looking for in the filings. So, first of all, let's take a look at the stock. It's down 58% over the last year and 89% over the last 5 years. But they're still sitting in a market cap of 184 million. So, what's going on here? I always take a look at their income. That's first thing, and that looks like they're losing over $120 million a year consistently. Okay, so what's going on with the revenue? And that looks like they only did 20 million in sales last year. So they did 20 million in sales, lost 123 million dollars. In fact, if you look at their operating income, that was negative as well, 132 million dollars. Now, to be fair, their 20 million revenue was up from 6 million the previous year, so some improvement on sales, but that's nothing for a company this size, and these guys are losing a fortune. But there has to be a reason they're spending so much. So let's look at the filings and figure out where that money's going. Oh, and well, their profile. I guess this is a company that says it's a supplier of high performance semiconductor sensors and perception software for the automotive industry, drones, other applications like that. So, to be honest with you guys, my initial thought was that's it. Just another company piggybacking the EV hype and semiconductors, and valuations went insane because anything EV related is worth billions of dollars, right? Yeah, that's wrong. But let's keep looking and see if we find something in the filings that would tell us otherwise. Um, First, I want to see their cash position. Looks like the actual cash is 26 million, but it does show bank deposits there being 105 million. And I did see a considerable amount made in interest on bank deposits. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that's liquid cash as well. And they actually do have a decent cash position since it can cover about a year's operations. But it will go quick at this rate. And in another area of the filing, I did see another mention of their cash being about that much. So I do think they're okay on cash for now. That was their position at the start of the year, anyways. That's their annual filing, so December 31st. So where's all the money going? They're losing a fortune every year. Well, you get into the operating expenses, it shows about 93 million was spent on research and development. They also show almost 9 million on sales and marketing, which is crazy. You spent 9 million on marketing for 20 million in sales. And that 20 million in sales, they actually had a negative gross profit on that. They had 20 million in sales, and they lost like 10 million dollars on those sales as well, which is insane. But they also had another 19.5 million on general and administrative expenses. So to be honest with you guys, these expenses just seem insane to me. So I did go down looking at this R&D sum. I read this section here on research and development. It says that their largest department is R&D is their largest department. It's got 395 employees. That's a hell of a lot of R&D employees for a company that only did 20 million in sales last year. I mean, honestly, by the time you're actually established enough to even employ that many people, you'd think they'd have some kind of sales. Um, I don't know. So let's see what some of these guys are making, though. We've got the list of directors and officers' salaries here. Looks like the CEO makes 432,000 a year, but his equity-based compensation, which is shares, is almost $3 million a year. So they're paying the CEO 3.5 million a year to run a company that did 20 million in sales last year. What the hell has he done to deserve that? I mean, I guess you could justify it by saying he's done a great job of selling stock. He's managed to keep the company afloat despite losing over 120 million a year every year and hiring over 400 people, 395 just for R&D alone, even though they haven't delivered shit for sales. I don't know. Looks like the chief R&D officer, he makes over 2 million a year as well. So hell, right there's what? They're gonna have to sell about 6 million shares this year just to cover those two employees' salaries and bonuses. Yeah, that's a lot. That is a major red flag to me. I can't believe they're paying millions and millions of dollars to those guys in salaries with 20 million in sales and a 120 million dollar loss. Anyways, speaking of shares though and selling them, let's talk about dilution. Last year they went from 136 million shares to 165, so it was about 25 million new shares. I will say that's a pretty low outstanding share float. 165 is not that high, but increasing 29 million in a single year, I think it's like 21% dilution. It's a considerable amount, and their 120 million loss is pretty consistent year after year. So it doesn't look like that's been improving yet. But either way, 29 million shares, and the share price was a few dollars last year, so they're definitely covering their operational losses with dilution. This section here actually shows the shareholder equity for us as well, and it looks like that declined from 192 million to 153 million. So there's your shareholder equity declining. It's just killing shareholder value. As for this year with dilution, it looks like outstanding shares has stayed the same, or 165 million, same as it was at the end of the year, but they're going to have to sell at some point. Q1 lost $30 million again, which is in line with Q4 that lost $30 million. And that tells me they're staying on track for $120 million loss again this year. I don't see why they wouldn't. So cash is going to run out around at the end of the year. They're going to need to raise more capital before then. You can't wait until the last minute. But right now the share price is $1.11. So to cover next year's losses, they're going to want to put cash on the balance sheet by the end of the year. We're talking about selling shares at a discount to market value and raising $120 million. It's going to take more than 120 million shares being issued. I can tell you that much. So I was hoping to see things were turning around, but they don't appear to be, and they even tell you that in the filing. It says here, we also expect our losses to be similar in future periods as we blah, blah, blah. Basically, continue to invest without having any real sales and not knowing if it'll even pay off. Yeah. So honestly, guys, the financials are garbage. They're losing 120 million a year. They only have 20 million in sales. I don't have the slightest idea how they've gotten to the point they're employing 395 R&D employees, costing them over 90 million a year in R&D. This share price is now down to testing a dollar, which is a minimum NASDAQ listing price, and they can't get delisted because they need to keep selling shares to keep the doors open. So, like many others, I'm going to say they're probably looking at a reverse split soon to stay compliant and on the NASDAQ. Seems like a semiconductor company that had a nice ride, ran on hype. They were able to raise a fortune and dumped a ton in R&D, but time's up, guys. The hype's dying down. They aren't improving their financials, so it looks like dilution will be crazy over the next year or so, pushing the share price even lower and forcing a reverse split. Beyond that, I don't know what to expect, but that seems to be the pattern with companies like this. Share price explodes, it's easy to raise cash, they dump a fortune into everything, but share price comes down as hype dies off, and that's your timeline. If you haven't straightened things out in the company and you're still losing a fortune, well, good luck raising cash. You're going to have to dilute shareholders into oblivion at that point. Now, I said that about another company recently, and some bulls got mad. Naturally, they don't like it when you look at things like dilution and how they're going to pay the bills and keep the doors open. But they said I didn't do my research. Filings aren't enough, and you know what? They're right. There's a lot more to it. If I actually consider investing in a company, I look at a hell of a lot more than just the filings. But I would not invest in INVZ Technologies based on their financials, so really no reason for me to look into the rest of it. The rest of it's just the story. What do we hope they do next year? What are they working on? Things like that. But I decided to go ahead and read some PRs on this one just because, and that didn't go well either. Here's the first thing that popped up. It's a class action lawsuit against the company by shareholders. Yeah. So, nice story. Let's see what it says though. This news release at least says the case details. The filed complaint alleges that defendants made false statements and/or concealed that Innoviz had overstated the benefits that the company was likely to derive from its purported contracts, partnerships, and/or collaborations with automotive companies. As a result, the company was unlikely to achieve the level of profitability that defendants had represented to investors. Accordingly, Innoviz had overstated its business and/or financial prospects, and as a result, the company's public statements were material, false, and misleading at all relevant times. Yeah, what the hell are you guys investing in, man? I wouldn't go anywhere near this company. However, I'm not a financial advisor, so let's see what the professionals have to say about it. Looks like the analysts call it a buy with an average price target of $3.62. So the professionals thinks it's going to run about 200% from here. Based on what? There's no financials to value them on. They're nowhere close to covering their losses. And any value they claim to have on patents or any future potential, you got to question because they're currently in a lawsuit for allegedly making false statements and misleading shareholders. I mean, I don't know. At best, you could say shareholders' equity was 153 million last year, and look at like price to book ratios. But because of dilution, those valuations are going to be declining every year too. So I don't know. I can't put a value on it. If you want to know what I think it's worth, I say less. It's worth less. That's my take. But my thing is, I still can't get over the fact that they have 395 R&D employees for a company with virtually no sales. What the hell are that many people doing all day long and not driving results? I don't know. But guys, this is why I start with the numbers. I dig into the numbers, I dig into the charts because, a good story is great. It brings in investors and hype, but without financials, the stock is only going to end up going one direction in the long run. But like I've said, I'm not a financial advisor, just a guy sharing his personal opinion, which you should consider for entertainment purposes only. You got to do your own research, make your own investment decisions, guys. But I will say that if you do want a company to look into that I actually do like with improving financials, I'm really big on IQST. It's an extremely high growth OTC stock that not many people know about yet. They don't have that big hype and that big story, but they have got the financials. So they're operating around break even, crossing over to profitability now. So dilution isn't a concern, and they're growing over 100% this year with sales being about 5 times their current market cap. So take a look at their financials. I'll link a video where I actually went and met with the CEO and CFO for an interview earlier this month. You guys check that out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video or at least learned something from it. If you have other stocks you'd like me to look into, drop them in the comments and let me know and actually tell me something about them. But be wary. If you guys recommend a stock, I might come back with a bad opinion of it. So thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.